I want to salute everyone who has come out today to say, we need and we demand a whole new way to live and a fundamentally different system. Everyone who came out to say, stop the U.S.-Israeli genocide against Palestinians now. Everyone who came out to say, stop capitalism, imperialism from stealing our future. A salute to everyone who came out to work for revolution and those who came out to learn more about it. A salute to our comrades in Iran, Mexico, and Colombia who have been celebrating May Day, working for the same revolution in other parts of the world that we are working for here. And a salute to the students who bravely stepped out and shook the conscience of this country and the people living in it. As we're gathered here today, Israel has been announcing its plans or its intent to carry out a further invasion of Gaza in Rafah, which is where most people have become concentrated because of the months and months of slaughter, of children being bombed to ashes, of hospitals being destroyed, of whole neighborhoods being crumbled by Israeli bombs, tanks, gunfire, all backed up and made in the USA. The Palestinian people are not just some people over there who are having this happen to. Those are our people. That is our blood being spilled. Those are our homes being destroyed. Our people are the whole people of the world who are being oppressed and who are suffering miserably under this system. And we have to fight like our future depends on it, because it does. And the students in the last week who have stood up across this country have finally exposed the sickening lie that this country is spreading somehow freedom and democracy all over the world. Think about it. Students on elite universities and campuses who are told and who are pursuing their futures in the whole framework of living in a country of liberty and justice for all, where you have the freedom to pursue your dreams and your education and your future and do whatever you want to do in the world. They stepped out and they said, we're no longer going to look on as our country supports, backs, and arms a brutal, sickening, inhumane genocide being carried out in our names. These students, if you think about it, yesterday was the 54th anniversary of Kent State, when the National Guards were sent out to shoot students who were protesting what was then a genocidal war being carried out directly by the U.S. And that generation came to be defined by people pouring into the streets to stop the Vietnam War and to oppose America's treatment of black people as it had been treating black people for its entire existence. And what these students have done here now could be part of what defines this generation of people coming out to oppose their country and saying we are not going to accept another genocidal war being carried out in our names. And more than that, we need to push on it to make this generation actually be about that, for real. Fighting it not to stop this genocide and to put an end to the system that is doing that there and is carrying out atrocities all over the world, including right here. But one more thing that we have going for us is the fact that we have not just a clear sense of what we're up against, but what we're for. Think about not just the genocide, but also think about the way students stood up here in UCLA. Just a week ago, they were descended on by Zionist fascist thugs who were carrying out brutal beatings of the encampment while the police stood aside and let this all go down. And then, in the day following that, the police proceeded to carry out their own brutality and beatings to drive out the students from their encampments. Think about what this system does. Despite all its talk about freedom, democracy, and rights, and compare that and think about what the new socialist republic in North America would do, when we dismantle this system and replace it with revolutionary institutions and a revolutionary society. In this broadsheet, we demand a whole new way to live in a fundamentally different system. It outlines 6 key points of how the new society would be different. And point number 1 is a whole new dimension of freedom and rights of the people. It says the government institutions established with this new socialist constitution, including the police and military, will no longer be to contain, control, repress, brutalize, murder, and slaughter people here and all over the world. Instead, these radically new institutions will safeguard the rights of the people and give backing to the masses of people in moving to abolish all forms of discrimination and inequality, all relations of oppression and exploitation. They will defend the new emancipating society against attempts to sabotage, attack, and destroy it, and will support people throughout the world fighting for the goal of emancipation. As set forth in this Constitution for a new socialist republic in North America, the people in this new society will not only be allowed, but encouraged and enabled to fully speak their minds politically, to express themselves freely through artistic and other means, to dissent and protest with constitutional and institutionalized protection of their right to do so. They will be provided with the means for doing this, because this is an important part of creating an atmosphere where people can breathe and feel at ease, and where they will be inspired to join with others in grappling what will with what will and what will not contribute to the emancipating transformation of society and the world as a whole. I do just want to reread and underline some things to think about. I'm not going to get into it all right now, but think about this. Not only allowed, but encouraged and enabled. And they will be provided with means for doing this. Think about this system pretends that people has the right, but even in its best, even at its highest, when things are stable and they are not so concerned about repressing people, all they can do is not violate their rights, not stop them from saying this or that. Meanwhile, the actual mouthpieces that are able to influence everybody's thinking and determine decision-making of this system are the ones who big media corporations, big financial institutions, big think tanks that determine the direction of things. This is talking about a new society where people have taken control of society away from the capitalists who run it now, put the resources of society to work for social priorities, one of which will be to enable people, not just allow people, and to provide people with the means for doing this. Again, just think about that. And I'm going to read the titles of the other ones. I'm not going to get into it all, but think about all of that in relation to all of these 6 key outlines of how the new society will be different. A whole different economy to meet the fundamental needs and serve the highest interests. Eliminating discrimination, inequality, and oppression in every form. Education to actually educate and empower the masses of people. Healthcare to serve the people. And abolishing nuclear weapons, finally abolishing wars, and systematically addressing the environmental crisis. Again, this is an outline and a concentration of 6 key ways this new socialist republic, which is outlined in the Constitution authored by Bob Avakian, would be different from the society that we live in now. And this is not just a pipe dream. This is a blueprint for how, when we cast off the chains of this system and the straitjacket that it has on humanity's potential, when we finally make a revolution and dismantle the institutions of this society and get rid of that American Constitution and replace it, this is the society we could actually live in. And the revolution to do that can be made in the time we are living in now. And this is what we're doing here today to work towards. This is the opportunity that's opening up in a much bigger way in the time we live in now. This is our chance and our responsibility to the people of the world who so desperately need us to be who we need to be, to do what needs to be done right here in the belly of the beast.
So the first thing I want to say is, if you haven't, you need to join the Raycom Corps for the emancipation of humanity. You need to live for and fight for the points of attention of the revolution, especially in this rare time that you've been hearing about. But for this to happen, for it to really happen, and happen in the way that it needs to happen, because a lot of people need to do just what I said. The people that's out here that live in this community need to, can, and must become part of this revolutionary force. But for this to happen, people got to get out of a lot of the bullshit that they caught up in. That this system, the way the system got people thinking and acting and get into the revolution. People in this community and communities like this everywhere got to get out of the bullshit and of fighting and killing each other and using other people, slanging a little bit of this, a little bit of that, climbing over, stepping over like each other, and just trying to survive under this dog-eat-dog system. All that goes against the interests of the masses of people. It helps to weaken, not strengthen, the revolution. People need to act to strengthen the revolution by becoming part of the force that is organizing people for this revolution. Because we got to make everyone stop and take notice that there's a force out here, there's a revolutionary alternative force out here that represents a whole new way, a whole different way that we can be, that society can be, a whole different system. A system that gets concentrated again, or gets concentratedly expressed. And number two of the points of attention, we fight for a world where all the chains are broken. Women and men and differently gendered people are equals and comrades. We do not tolerate physically or verbally abusing women or treating them as sexual objects, nor do we tolerate insults and jokes about people's gender or sexual orientation. Let everybody take notice about what the revolution, about this, and decide how they're going to relate to this. And when we go out here and march today, people have to see that there is a different authority, a new authority, a revolutionary authority that's concentrated here. And the people that they see here, coming out here, prepared to struggle with them, or what they need to do with their life, and how they need to become part of the revolution to emancipate humanity and get out of the bullshit that this system keeps people trapped in and caught up in. Because as Bob Avakian says, we just saw, there's something deep down in people that they want better. Well, we represent the better that they want, and it's up to us to take that to them and reach down in there and pull that out. Revolución.
¿Cuál es el problema?
El sistema, el sistema.
¿Cuál es la solución?
Revolución, revolución.
De Gaza a México.
De Gaza a México.
Tumbemos esos muros.
Tumbemos esos muros.
My sign says stop killing innocent people in Gaza. Shame on you.
Mine says Gaza under attack.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to say, I was just talking to someone over lunch, and we were talking seriously about what's going to be involved in actually making a revolution when you think about the violence that was used against the students over the last week. It was just a small taste of what they have to be able to wield against the people of the world. And think about, when you're hearing these points of attention, how different this is from this world, how different it is to live this way, but also what it means to have a force that's going to fight this way for these principles. What kind of force is going to go up against this empire that fights the way it does by bombing, slaughtering, torturing, raping, conditioning their own soldiers to be mindless killing machines, pumped up with pornography to carry out slaughter against people that they are trained to see as nothing. And think about the kind of force that needs to be trained right here to lead millions to do what needs to be done when the time is right, to wage an all-out fight to bring this system down without becoming what we're fighting. A force that's actually for the emancipation of humanity and not for settling a score, getting our piece of all this, or getting back at those who have gotten at us. Think about that when you're hearing and seeing those of us who are here going to be reciting these points of attention, and what it means to organize for revolution, what it means to join the RevCom Corps for the emancipation of humanity, where you can learn more about this while you take part in working for revolution, where you learn to work with people who are just like you and nothing like you for the common cause of emancipating humanity, where you learned to become a leader yourself by learning the science of revolution and communism, and where you can have an impact that you can't have alone. An impact that you can't have just by being an individual by yourself trying to do good, but by being part of an organized, growing, disciplined, revolutionary force that is working to organize the thousands to lead millions to make a revolution in the time we live in now. So these are the points of attention for the revolution. We live by and fight for these points of attention. This is the code of the revolution. Repeat after me. Point of attention number 1.
Point of attention number 1.
We base ourselves on
We base ourselves on
and strive to represent
and strive to represent
the highest interests of humanity,
the highest interests of humanity,
revolution and communism.
revolution and communism.
We do not tolerate
We do not tolerate
using the revolution
using the revolution
for personal gain.
for personal gain.
Point of attention number 6.
Point of attention number 6.
We are going for an actual overthrow of this system
We are going for an actual overthrow of this system
and a whole better way beyond
and a whole better way beyond
the destructive,
the destructive,
vicious
vicious
conflicts of today
conflicts of today
between the people.
between the people.
Because we are serious
Because we are serious
at this stage,
at this stage,
we do not initiate violence,
we do not initiate violence,
and we oppose all violence
and we oppose all violence
against the people
against the people
and among the people.
and among the people.
All right, that was Revolutionary Internationalist May Day in Los Angeles. We ended up with the points of attention, the code for the revolution. The comrades read in a call and response 2 of the 6 points. Read all 6 of them on our website, revcom.us. Now, we want to follow this up since we were talking about revolution and people are agitating and preparing for revolution. Well, what is a real revolution? So I want to play now a question and answer from Bob Avakian in the interview that he did on this show with Sansara Taylor and myself in the fall of 2022 on what is a real revolution. And I'm going to follow that with Michelle Chai at this May Day rally, which she hosted. Michelle is the leader of the Los Angeles chapter of the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity. And at one point, she started agitating about what BA means for her and the kind of opposition we sometimes run into out on the campuses and how she feels about that and what stand we have to take to it. So let's go to Bob Avakian, followed by Michelle Chai at Revolutionary Internationalist May Day in Los Angeles.
So you've dedicated your whole life, over decades, to making revolution and emancipating humanity. And I want to talk about revolution. It's a word that people throw around all the time. And people mean radically, very wildly different things when they use it. What is a real revolution, and why is that necessary?
Well, it's not a new variation of Charmin toilet paper. Okay, that's the first thing we can say. You know, it's not a change just in the culture, to be more serious. It means that you actually overthrow the existing system and replace it with a different system. That's what an actual revolution is. And yes, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of people. I remember, after I think it was Parkland shooting, there was big rallies that were held, and one of the students from there, got up to speak one of these big rallies, and the first thing he said was, "Welcome to the revolution," because there were, large numbers, masses of people there. Well, masses of people are one important ingredient of a revolution. You don't make a revolution with a handful of people. You need, millions of people ultimately to make a revolution. But the question is, what are those people fighting for? What are they aiming for? Are they aiming just to make changes within the existing system, or are they actually recognizing that you cannot bring about the positive resolution of all these different horrors that exist in this country, and we could go through them, but in the world as a whole? You cannot bring about a positive resolution to that, an elimination of all that, within the confines of this system. That is another scientifically determined, evidence-based truth. And so therefore, a revolution means that you overthrow the system in order to, bring into being a completely different foundation in how the economy functions, different relations among people that are not oppressive, a different culture that, instead of reinforcing all this garbage and oppression, actually reinforces emancipating relations among people and emancipating ideas among people, and all the political structures also are transformed in order to serve the further transformation of society, to uproot all the underlying basis for all this exploitation and oppression. That's a revolution. Nothing short of that is an actual revolution.
That he says in these interviews about having respect for people. A lot of people say, well, that's your opinion. Let's just have a respectable conversation and let's just end it here before we start disagreeing. But the most respect you can have for people is struggling for what's true. Struggling with people. If they are saying some bullshit, they need to be told that they're saying some bullshit. Okay? And that is, with this leader, you watch the whole of that interview, he doesn't hold back. You read the works that he's actually, putting forward, the social media messages. He's not holding back. He's pointing to what are the wrong terms right now. Where people, just even that I want to call on people to go on these social media at Bob Avakian Official and listen to, as Noche was saying, listen to the whole of those social media messages. But this leader doesn't hold back, okay? At this time, when these encampments are being labeled as anti-Semitic, he actually goes at what the actual terms of what is being done in these protests and who the actual violent ones are. It is not these students. It is not the people that are protesting. It is this system that is dropping 2,000-pound bombs on our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and the people that are rising up and saying no are righteous and they need to be defended, and that kind of struggle needs to spread. And that's the concrete leadership that Bob Avakian is giving right now. And that's what people need to know about. That's what needs to spread. And that's what we, who are followers of this leader, proudly go out there and struggle with people about. And this is something that really pisses me off, that I just have to speak to, that, people label us as some brainless cult, followers because how dare they go out there and just talk about one leader. Somebody told me as we were out at UCLA that how dare I wear a shirt that says BA speaks. And I just had to say, I'm sorry, because I'm like some brainless idiot that has no critical thinking of herself, and she just puts on whatever the fuck shirt and just, does whatever. No, we put on this shirt very consciously. I promote the leadership of Bob Avakian very consciously. And if people have a disagreement with the content of what BA is putting forward, then bring that on the table. We're not scared of people disagreeing with the content. People need to be more talking about and struggling over what's true and how we're going to put an end to this system instead of name calling and snarking and sniping and, and telling us to get out of the campus because we're daring to get out there and bringing this leader. We were in the right place and we were talking about the damn right thing when we were out there at UCLA, bringing this leadership to people that need to actually understand where this is coming from and how to end it and strengthen that movement to get to the root of why this is happening. and why it is that the heavy hand of this, system that so calls itself democratic and all this, until you rise up and you dare to question, what they're doing, then the heavy hand of the dictatorship comes in. That's what he gets into in these social media messages. That's what we're bringing to people. That's what we're struggling with people about getting into. And that's what people need to know. And that's what we are struggling with people about. And we're not sorry about that. And we're not going to apologize about that, because we respect people enough and know that they have the ability to understand that, to themselves dig into it, and to themselves break out of the bullshit that this system trains people in thinking and taking up and living by, right? So this is who we are, and this is what we're representing, and we're fighting for the leadership of Baba Bacon.